the main portion of our program, and I'll turn it over to Southwest Contractors Association. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Stephanie. How you guys doing? Hello. My name is Felipe Gonzalez. I am with Fox Lumber Company, and I am the commercial sales representative.
I'm Kirk Perkins with Yuma Valley Contractors. I'm the vice president and the construction manager for Yuma Valley Contractors.
I'm John Kavesdi, project manager for McCarthy Building Company.
All right. Well, I'm going to get it started. I'm from Yuma. I was born and raised here. I've been at my job for about 20 years. My company, we specialize in selling building materials, and we manufacture components, trusses, wall panels. That's the gist of that. We have locations in Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Arizona, and we represent a pretty good market share. I wouldn't say all of it, but we have a pretty good grasp in the communities that we do represent. The reason I bring that up is because, as you all may know, lumber has been one of the biggest culprits that has really hit the supply chain. Lumber has been unpredictable, is the best way I could describe it. Just unpredictable. We have had incredible highs, and then we had sharp decreases, and there is nothing we could plan to. There's nothing we could do to plan for it. Art made a comment right now that he doesn't have a crystal ball, and we don't either. We have about 125 years of historic research and background that we document. It's a very old company, and we don't have anything in our records that could possibly let us know what's going to happen next, which is a very scary thing to have. Like I say, it's unpredictable. We have had like just crazy swings just within the last month. From December to January, we had a 100%, lumber price increase. And this is talking about, futures market is what a lot of people gauge this on. So futures are incredibly high. And the worst part is the cash market, where we actually buy lumber from, it's not the futures market. The cash market is higher than futures, which is unheard of. It's never happened before. So we don't even have the futures market to use as a measuring stick on what's going on. So saying all that, you could really understand why the industry is suffering from material shortages. And then sometimes it's not a shortage, sometimes nobody can afford it, because you do your project, you do your budgeting, and you're set. You can't really keep going back, back to the well for more. So we've been having a lot of issues with either jobs wanting to stop, or they're incredibly over budget and there's massive delays. And this is in my industry. And the only thing I could really talk about is this, the things I live day to day, the things that affect my business day to day. Like I said, I'm on the vendor side, as were my other two partners here. They're on the construction side, and they would be my user. They would buy material from me, and they have their own version of how it affects them. But as far as in our operations, we're having a lot of issues with the mills. So it starts at a mill level. The people that actually produce the lumber. These mills right now, they control our market 100%. And there's different reasons that the mills make the decisions. There's a financial reason. And then there's also COVID that affects them. So one of them is these mills, they've found out that they can make some serious cash with their product. They found out because the last 2 years, even though we're going through a pandemic, people just never stopped building. They just kept going and demanding for more. And the mills, well, they got a little taste of it. So one aspect of it that we feel as an organization is there's a lot of greed involved on that end. And it is a business, and we don't have to buy the product, but it is being, it is being inflated on some end. The other end is the labor shortage side, which is real. Due to COVID, none of these factories are really producing at 100% or 80% or maybe not even 50%. So when you combine both of those deals, it's really creating a bottleneck of materials and shortages. So an organization like myself, we're lumber yards. We don't buy directly from the mill. We buy from what you call a secondary market. A secondary market is usually more of a regional location. So it's within 200 to 300 miles of different stores. And those there's big companies, Weyerhaeuser, Boise Cascade. These are some big names in lumber. They buy from mills. So what's happening is the mills just recently in December, they decided to shut down early they're calling it maintenance. So they shut down early and they wouldn't take any offers. They wouldn't accept any purchases from the secondary markets because what was happening is they were creating kind of like a depletion of materials that are on hand, prompt wood. So what happened is the pricing of the material went through the roof because anybody in a secondary market was wanting top dollar pricing for their product because they couldn't communicate from their source. So they didn't know what the price was going to be. And it looks like it looked orchestrated, you know, and we don't know that for sure, but that's what it looked like and that's what it feels like. So what ended up happening is these secondary markets where lumberyards buy from ended up, you know, pretty much depleting all their stock. So now it's the new year. We're in it now. We're in the third week of the month, and the mills have started opening up for pricing and whatnot. And just as we thought, the pricing is once again high. You know, we're having all-time highs. We had a 25% increase from last Wednesday to this morning. We did a commodity call this morning, and it was just showing us, you know, what's been going on, and it's not getting any better as far as that. And so that's a brief explanation on how we got to the point of lumber being so expensive. The main reason though really is people continue to build. They keep wanting to build. We keep giving out these prices, and they're extremely high. Some of these projects are doubled in price. You know, these jobs are now $1 million, $2 million over budget, but these people we deal with, they're finding a way to continue. Who's paying for this? These increases? It's the end consumer. I specialize in what they call the HDH, which is high density housing. So I do a lot of apartments, a lot of assisted living, a lot of hotels, and the people paying for all this increase at the end is the guy who's going to rent the apartment, is the couple that's going to rent that apartment. Let's say that they were going to pay $1,400 a month in an apartment in Phoenix. Well, now it's going to be $1,600 a month, and people are kind of getting cornered, you know, into doing it. So people need a place to live. These buildings keep going up, so you know we continue to sell. I've talked to my partners here, and I told them that if all of us would just stop building for a month or two, it would just drastically take effect, you know, and it would be a price deduction. It would really control the situation, but nobody has the ability to stop, you know, because we all got bills to pay and everybody has something to do. Let's see. When it comes to bidding, we can only guarantee pricing for a week. It's really difficult. As everybody knows, we have a couple of banks that are part of this association here. You can't really make a decision in a week or two if you're going to greenlight a project. You know, you have to run through your finance committee. There's just multiple steps. So by the time a job gets approved, the market changed. There we go again with another price increase. So I mean, that's one thing that's happened. And a small workaround, not even a workaround, something that a lot of builders have been doing is they've been paying for materials up front, which if you're financially sound and you can afford to do that, it's a way to do it. You get a quote, and if you have the capital to do it, we've had a lot of customers that come up to us and they actually pay for material up front instead of just a classic AR account, you know, net 30 days, and you know, we turn in invoices, we get paid the following month, just the classic. People have been skipping that because they're so scared. They're just terrified of all the increases that happen, because we're talking about a market that has gone up 350% from before the beginning of COVID. March 2020 to now, it's a 350%. And on some of these big jobs, it takes a while. It could take up to a year, a couple of years to get it from, from the initial idea, the original rendering design, to when you're actually gonna build your project. So within that time, there's jobs, let's say it was a, $100 million school or hospital, these building materials of, 350%. I don't even know the dollar amount to that. But and it's a real deal, and that's what's happening. But one workaround for these increases that we've seen is just paying up front. That's just one of the deals. And I don't know if John and Kirk would like to chip in on that.
That's absolutely right. The day of buying things and expecting them to be on the shelves is gone. You have to plan for every component of your building up front, earlier than early. Make sure you have those relationships. What he's talking about buying up front is what we like to call stored materials. And in the past, we've shied away from stored materials because it carries a lot of risk. Now we're having open, honest conversations with our clients saying, we need stored materials. We need our vendors and subcontractors to order early and store these materials just so that we know that we're going to have them on site. So the conversation is they're going to pay for it. They can't front the money. So we're going to have to pay a little up front so that we can keep our project moving.
Yeah, and as far as a financial gain from all this, this is a real misconception. A lot of people think because these markets are so inflated that we're making more margin dollars. It's a bigger sale. Well, the reality is it's taken a lot more money to do the same job, and it's even harder work because just to get everything pinned down, I mean, the labor side of things increased, and we're so shorthanded. So in all these crazy increases, I know for a fact we haven't made extra dollars. Like dollar for dollar, it's even harder earned.
One of the things that, my compadres here were talking about, ultimately, we're in a field of managing risk. And that's what, and when you try to mitigate that as much as possible, it's difficult when your data is not always as good as you'd like to be. Historically, we can set a schedule, we can have realistic expectations of, what you expect and now that's really gone. You have such a disruption in supply chain globally. But
hey, Greg, can you put your Thank you.
There we go. That's better. We're getting a lot of feedback. But we've had such a disruption in the supply chain, creating a schedule to hopefully mitigate some of that risk that we're encountering has been very difficult. Instead of like John said, ordering stuff, there's nothing on the shelf. So now we're out there trying to find stuff. And sometimes instead of taking an hour to create an order to get material on site, it might take days and weeks, which also takes more time, more effort on our part to try to keep things moving. We're having to come up with alternative solutions a lot of times, and sometimes alternative materials. And sometimes it's cost effective and sometimes it's not, but to waylay that even more, I'm sure many of you in other industries have seen what's happened with trucking across the country. Trucking costs have gone up exponentially, cost of fuel, whatever their reasons are for doing that. Lack of drivers, unionizing in some areas of the country where it's limited who can and who can't pick up materials. But it's all ultimately affected us, and it's a ripple effect. Historically, we look back when we have hurricanes and things in the Gulf, a lot of our resin producers and oil producers are in Texas and in the Panhandle or down there. And they, that impacts a lot of our things that produce resin, pipe, plastics, things like that. And usually, within a quarter or so, they can usually kind of catch back up. But we're not seeing that because what's happening is they'll run a production, and as soon as they jump to the next line, that's all bought up. So there's no backfall. There's no inventory to keep that stopgap while you're waiting. So you end up, if you happen to be in line at the right time, you can get pretty lucky sometimes. And if you're not, you're kind of out in the cold. You're waiting, and then they may tell you, well, maybe 10 to 12 weeks. Well, that 10 to 12 weeks might go to 14 weeks. We don't know. And they're also on allocation. I'm sure Felipe touched on that. So they are producing things, but it doesn't matter how big or how small you are, you only get your little piece of the pie. So
Yeah, there's one of the points that Kurt mentioned right now is we're having to do things a little different. So one of the biggest conversation starters I have with my customers, even old customers that we represented for years, is this is not business as usual. Please do not think everything is going to go how it usually does. I know for a fact, we've been doing it this way for you and I, 20 years. We can't count on that anymore. I apologize for that. It's out of our hands, but we do ask for certain flexibility. So the flexibility side has been a really, really huge part of us continuing to do business with our contractors, with our customers. What I mean with flexibility is, a lot of our projects come with a very specific scope, and tolerances on materials you're going to be able to use on it. So what we found is, especially in my industry, in the lumber industry, is we try to submit multiple options as far as the main product, as far as the lumber. Case in point, for me, it's species of lumber. So there's different species, some are stronger than others. Some are dry and some are wet. It all has its purpose and its reasoning. So what we try to do is we try to get the customer, the contractor, to approve possibly the lowest grade that still does the job, and it creates an opportunity for us to go shopping. So let's say that there's a project and they have spec'd out a specific species of lumber that's hard to get and it's pricey right now. So what we ask for is if there's some flexibility. So we call it the workaround, a workaround. How do we work around this situation? So that's been a huge, huge way we can continue moving forward. Different people and your organization, you guys do different businesses, and I'm sure you're faced with different scenarios, different deals, but the flexibility has 100% allowed all of us to keep moving forward. You're not going to get everything you want on your project. That is a guarantee. And you're also not going to get it in the exact time you want it. Even if I can find it, I can't get it to your job site because of the logistics. That's a reality.
But just to touch on that, that doesn't mean it's the wrong way to build it. We just have to challenge the paradigms that we know. I mean, it's we built it one way years ago, doesn't mean that it's the way we should build it today. For instance, steel wide flange beams are tough to get and they're super expensive now. So maybe the shift is to wood joists or to some other component that you can build your structure with. Doesn't make it a bad structure, it just makes it a different structure.
Right. 100%. Yeah, and like see the communication factor is so key right now. I mean, you have to start warning your customers, anybody you represent. You have to warn them of all the not dangers, just all the obstacles that we're facing. You have to be really upfront, because if not, you're gonna get yourself into some real trouble, because people are gonna schedule based on the information you give them, and then you're gonna fall on your face. So the expectation needs to be presented upfront in such a bold way that nobody has any doubt on what you can do and what you can't do, and when you can do it.
I think you really hit that. That's really how we're trying to handle the situation, is just hitting on making sure that we have good communication with our clients, letting them know that, look, as Felipe said, it's not business as usual. We're doing our best to deliver, as quickly as possible, but with prudent things in mind, that we're trying to, meet their expectations, but also at the same time, we're trying to work with a lot of different moving parts that sometimes don't always work together as smoothly as we'd like to. But ultimately, at the end, we kind of joked, John and I, in the past, we wish things would kind of slow down, and well, it kind of has. The pace of construction, before this happened, the deadlines and everything kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Well, now it's kind of gone the other way, but we've got a different set of circumstances that we're trying to deal with. But ultimately, we're trying to deliver, the best possible product to our client.
Yeah, and then there's also the big COVID problem.
What's that?
Yeah, if you guys don't know COVID, it's really affecting us right now. Now, what's going on is on the labor shortage. So let me lay out a perfect scenario for you guys. Everything that I talked about right now that we've mentioned, it all worked. Somebody paid up front. somebody was flexible with their submittals and you know, the materials they're going to use. Okay, we have everything ready to rock and roll. There's a production schedule, you know, for the building construction schedule. You lay everything out and everything looks beautiful on paper. Okay, you're getting ready to start. You know, you have your pre-construction, you do everything, and then the next day, one guy got COVID and infected 5 other ones, and you lose an entire department. And I say that because that happens to us consistently in our different, like we have 40 locations. You lay out a perfect schedule and it's looking amazing. And then those guys are either sick or they made contact and they leave and they come back in 5 days, whatever the procedure is for that specific operation. So we have that problem. So there's that shortage. So anytime you stop in the middle of a job, it's the hardest thing to do is to go back to it and continue it. And then you add the factor of not having all your materials there, and you're making contractors come back that are already short-staffed. You're making these subs come back to try to finish the job in the same schedule that, you know, that you have, you know, laid out.
Create out of sequence work.
Yeah,
Out of sequence work is killer. It's a snowball effect. Having to go back and procurement has a lot to do with it as well. Steel joists are so far out now that you have to block out a section of your building to account for that and then come back to it later and run your whole train of subs through that building again. It's very strategic on how you can plan a schedule now, but also very, very fluid.
One thing that we've had to do too is we've had to really talk to our clients and look, you know, normally a firm fixed contract, you know, I have the deadline and the date because things are so out of sequence. We've just had to tell them, we understand that, you know, this is a priority to get this done, but we've had to work around because, you know, typically there's, you know, liquidated damage and things that would come into effect when a project runs over time. But knowing upfront that these projects are probably not going to end on time, you know, we really have to be open to communication and open that up and say, look, we will finish it as soon as we can. And we've really had a really good response from our clients, just understanding they know it's not just us, you know, trying to shirk our duties to deliver something, you know, and we really make an effort not to take on more than we should. One of the things that we've done in our residential market is we've limited the amount of contracts we're writing on houses because we just know that, you know, we'd love to sign everybody up for a house, but unfortunately we can't. It's just not something that's ethical to us to continue to take things that we know that we can't deliver on. We're promised exactly.
Yeah, and one of the things all of us would like to know is this our new normal? Like, is this how it's gonna be now? And if it is, do I need to change my method of operation? You know, is this my life now? Do I have to hire staff to mitigate, you know, all these irregularities? I don't know, and we don't know.
I feel like we've asked that question a lot in many years past. As many different ways we've asked that same question. So you can only assume that it's going to change. I'm not going to say it's going to get better or worse, but it's going to change again, and we're going to have to shift and adjust as normal.
Yeah, so like I say, we always, and I know this is the oldest, some of the oldest things in the book, but just be patient and be kind, you know, like, because I mean, we're all really feeling it, you know. It's
nice to us.
Yeah, be nice to us sometimes, you know. Yeah, so I mean,
I guess the short of it is scarcity creates creative thinking. You know, if you're short on something, you got to start thinking creatively. We're in the construction industry. That's kind of why we love what we do, is we're thinking on the fly. You know, in the past, we've sat around a conference table and been like, okay, well, we need this, the valve or whatever. It's in Ohio. Who's driving to Ohio? You can be back in, you know, 3 days with that material, but that's not even an option anymore. And I was thinking way out the box.
Yeah, you know, it's really forced us to be very resourceful and not that we're not, you know, licensed problem solvers, but that's really what we've been, you know, throughout our whole careers is, you know, we have a situation where we're trying to meet an end goal and, you know, we A to Z, you know, soup to nuts. We try to figure out what it's going to take to get there. We fill in the blanks, you know, and then when, like these guys were saying, when things start getting out of sequence, all of a sudden that pastrami sandwich becomes a Dagwood sandwich. You have a lot of different layers on there that you didn't anticipate, and it does add to the logistics of the project.
Early planning and shifting on the fly. That's really what our industry's become. Oh, you're done? Yeah.
Unless you want to.
No, I feel like our clients on the, you know, who we're building for and who you're selling to, all are dealing with their own unique situations in the same climate. And it's a communal sort of adjustment. So that's where the leniency on the timelines comes. That's where the understanding of the stored materials and the paying up front. And we're working through it as a whole. But this is where I interject a shameless plug for Yuma Southwest. We had an idea around the table of what do we want to be? What do we want to be in an association? What do we want to represent? And trades and career exploration and careers outside of typical college degrees and the field side of work is where we kind of landed on. Not to discount college, we'll still promote that at all, but we want to definitely promote the career and trade environment. So come April 29, we're doing a career and trades experience. And the reason I bring it to this platform is because you all in this room will probably get a call at some time to be asked if you will be involved as a vendor, participant, to share your expertises in the business world with students and the community alike. Friday, we are opening it up to only students. They'll have interactive displays. We want to get students in rigs. We want to get students involved with how the nuts and bolts really come together. Hands-on activities. We even have a construction Olympics where we're going to have tradespeople and students alike compete in different challenges around the trades. So be on the lookout for this. If you don't get a call and you're interested, please reach out to us. We want this to be big. We want everyone to know about this. We want this to be an annual event and just something to be proud of in Yuma, getting it out there. I don't know if you have any more to say on that, but really excited about this.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons we're doing it is because somebody needs to put these buildings together. You know, not everybody could be the engineer, not everybody could be the top dog. We actually need people using their hands to build the projects. That's really how we get these things off the ground. So right now we have a huge labor shortage as far as skilled labor.
It's not getting any better either.
Yeah, and it's not getting any better. And a lot of the labor we see now that do have some skill, they're actually much older, and you can see the writing on the wall. We have a bunch of guys that are going to be retired probably within the next 5 to 10 years, and it's going to create this massive gap between skilled labor and just regular laborers. So we're trying to just stay ahead of it. Like I said, we've been reaching out directly to schools. It's not just platforms like this. We actually have teams that, infiltrated and made contact with specific, schools around town. So it's, we're taking it very seriously. We're trying to get, as much attention to it as possible. And it's going to actually be a big deal when it all comes together. I'm
got the whole Yuma Fairgrounds for it.
Yeah, entire Yuma Fairgrounds. So we're going to try to make it look like it's, April in Yuma during the fair, but in another month, so.
It's legit.
Yeah,
You're going to want to be a part of it. But
obviously our special interest is in the construction trades. We are inviting a lot of other platforms to be there with us. It's just to get kids excited about their future and get them engaged, to know that they have options.
Ask the hard questions.
That's the hard
We're
question.
going to encourage them to ask, how much do you get paid?
Yeah.
Questions like that.
Yeah.
Make them know what is out there.
Yeah. So
That's really all I've got. If anyone has any questions,
We probably talk longer than we should.
no one told me there was going to be questions, so that's
yeah,
nice too.
please feel free to ask questions. Anybody online. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry for jumping in, but this is Julie Eagle, and I can't see. So if somebody had their hand up and I cut in, I apologize for that. But again, I want to thank you very much. This has been incredibly informational, and I feel for you with all you're going through in this environment. But I have two questions. The first being, what are the age groups of students that you're working with? Because I recall that McCarthy had a middle school program, and I didn't know if your event is going to go that young or if these are for older students. And then my second question is, we've all had little jewels that we found during the pandemic that improved efficiencies, and I was curious if the construction industry and our government agencies have had any kind of aha moments where efficiencies improved because of COVID.
I can actually speak to that. Well, first off, it's not McCarthy. I think what you're talking about is the ABEC program, and it's something that we're all involved with. You know, Pilkington, Yuma Valley, where there's a large group of people trying to promote trades early in middle school, and that's what the ABEC program. There's all sorts of them out there. We are going as low as middle school for this event. We're going to have a bit of a busing challenge. So if anybody has any creative thinking on busing and getting students there, would love to hear the options. But we're trying to get as many as students as we can in one place at one time. But the COVID thing, it's funny you say that. Before COVID, McCarthy discouraged any sort of virtual meetings. We didn't think that it was genuine. We didn't think that it was personal. We didn't think it was productive. But COVID forced us into that kind of realm. And we learned that it's doable. It is a viable option. We don't want to use it as a crutch and say everything's virtual now, because we still do go back to the roots of our company where it is personal face-to-face relationship. But we do now use it as a tool and can have meetings that we wouldn't have had sooner.
You know, it cuts down on windshield time a lot, because you know, John and I spend a lot of time going to meetings, you know. But you know, you can essentially schedule meetings back to back and not have to worry about travel time or distance. You can get a lot more done in a more compact point in time. But yeah, talking about efficiencies, you know, that's an absolute there. But we've also figured out, you know, that some of the areas that we've had to do without, that we can do without. Areas we find we need more staff. Some areas we found we need less staff to get the same thing done. So it's been a really kind of a transitional thing for us to learn, you know, what do we need to transition from it? You know, obviously some of the stuff, you know, we found that you can make do, and that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, and as far as our infrastructure has changed within our company, our actual physical brick and mortar, you know, due to the all the online meetings and the way we do business, we've had to pretty much update every single location with, you know, high-speed internet, you know, just better electronics. We found out that we're like in a dinosaur age, because when you start looking into new product, I mean, we were so far behind, and now we're connected now, we're synced. So something that happened is it united our business electronically between all our, you know, 60 locations that we have. So that's actually been a positive. And like you said, we can have meetings back to back. We do a lot of, you know, document sharing, like via Zoom, like portals like this. And I mean, we're all looking at the same page or at the same problem in real time. And actually we get faster answers that way than we used to. So that part is very beneficial and efficient.
Online database and file sharing, that's really, it was available, but it became a necessity. Things that were conveniences before became necessities. So is what it forced everybody into.
We still can't build a wall with a keyboard though, unfortunately.
We don't have 3D printers yet. We're 3D printing buildings yet.
You still need men on the field to put it up.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, and I'm really glad to hear that there have been some, you know, little gems discovered during our COVID, and I hope that the inspections with the cities and stuff like that have become easier to do with some virtual contact. And I also want to say, yes, it is the ABEC program I was referring to. So thank you. And I'm excited to hear the middle schools be included in that program. And I will reach out to our YCAT director and see if she has any available transportation that day. And I will put her in touch with you guys. So thanks again. And Stephanie, can you check the chat to see if there's any questions?
There's a question from Crystal Gunderman of Foothills Bank, and she was wondering if the flyer could be emailed out to attendees. So if you want to send me the flyer, I'll send it out to the attendees, and we'll also put it in our next email newsletter.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, we'll be shooting those all out. We're getting the details for the sponsorships and just kind of refined right now. And as soon as we get those, everyone here will get a copy. The
Great.
more the better on this one.
I'll make sure everybody does, and I'll make sure all our investors get copies also. Are there any other questions?
Very good. Yeah, if anybody knows Mike Rowe in some crazy way, let us know. We're trying to get a hold of that guy.
He's a TD guy. He does a dirty job.
Dirty jobs, and he's always promoting trades.
Yeah. He actually offers scholarships for people entering non-traditional.
He would love this.
Any other questions? Okay, before we go, I'd also like to thank Greater Yuma EDC's major financial partners without their support and all our investors, we couldn't do it, but we're grateful for their confidence and support. And they are First Bank Yuma, AES Corporation, Arizona Public Service, Bonverde Development, Yuma County Airport Authority, and Yuma Regional Medical Center. So we appreciate all their support and confidence in us. So thank you very much. And if there's no more questions, we can end the meeting. Thank you all for attending. We appreciate it.
And I would really like to again thank our speakers. It has been so informative. So thank you so much.
I guess I should have done that.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good rest of the day, guys.
You too. Bye-bye.